Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the barbershop at WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Salute. We are talking about double dating today. Look, I'm going to let you know right now, it's like the most embarrassing thing. I get them every couple of years. Got a cold sore. You're going to have to just look at this ugly mug for a little bit, and I apologize. I'm just sharing the show with a couple of folks. We're going to be doing a watch party, so that'll be kind of fun. And we will see where we go from there. I'm also just going to quickly switch the network so that we can get some better feedback. Give me 1 second. We're going to switch our network real quick. You will notice I'm gone. Okay, awesome. So just sharing real quick. So I'm going to be chatting with some folks about double dating. And the reason that I kind of wanted to chat about double dating today is I thought it would be interesting. So I've mentioned my barber before, and I'm still sharing as I go, but I've mentioned my barber before, and I've told them, my barber's a female, which is kind of unique because I talk about, the barbershop being kind of a male place where we can all hang out. It just so happens I had a coupon. I moved to Las Vegas in October, and I had a coupon to go to this great place called Sports Clips. And, it's really, to be honest, the majority of it's not my style. It is, first of all, it's like super, like, kind of masculine, right? There's like lockers and, like it's super sporty. And I'm not a sports guy. Like anybody knows me, knows I'm not a sports guy. So, it's really interesting that, I would go there. And I also do kind of like that kind of male focus where we can, you know what I mean? Like where we can kind of chat, like with dudes. And so it's funny that I went to this place, but I had this coupon, and I was like, I have this coupon, whatever. And I had this great barber, and her name's Hannah. And Hannah, first of all, is a knockout. She's gorgeous. And she's got a boyfriend of like a gajillion years. So I'm not even, it's nothing like that. But, it's kind of funny that, we just vibed right away. Like she's super cool, has a bunch of tattoos we were talking about, that kind of stuff. And we were just kind of having fun and chatting the first time we went. And I'll be honest, I had no intention of going back to this barber because I was like, I have this coupon, whatever. Well, all of a sudden, like, I wind up like just really kind of enjoying this haircut. And the coupon I had was for like a VIP, it's for like a VIP experience. So I got like my hair washed. I got this it was a really cool experience. And so I was like, all right, I'll go back. And plus, like I said, my barber was super attractive, and we just kind of had a fun time chatting. And I told her this is how I reference her. I reference her as my super attractive barber. But I thought it was, really interesting that, that's what happened. So anyway, so I wind up chatting with her a little bit, and I'm just sharing one more thing. I want to do this watch party. How do I do that? Am I joining the watch party? Yeah, okay. I'm joining the watch party. And feel free, if you're on my watch party, comment. So I'll read them for sure. I'm without my kind of, person in the background, Twice, who always, I wind up fighting with Twice a lot because he and I disagree so adamantly and vehemently on certain things. But I think that, he's a bit of a chauvinist. I'm almost like borderline feminist. So, there's a bit of, we have a little bit of the back and forth, but that's what makes the show fun, right? So feel free to comment, give me some stuff to chat about, give me some stuff to talk about, and, we'll go from there. I'm hanging out with my barber, and I've seen her now since October. Like we've had a lot of fun and kind of, just gotten to know each other. It was a point for a good long while that I was, I was actually seeing somebody, and she is always seeing somebody. So it's nothing like that. Like we're not flirting. You know what I mean? We are more of just, we're just chatting, getting to know each other. And she says to me, if you ever want to use some of my stories, feel free. And I go, okay, cool. I'll think about that. And then the next time I see her, she goes, no, seriously, I want you to use some of my stories. So I go, what's going on? Tell me what's happening. So she tells me a bunch of stories. And one of the stories that she tells me, sorry, I'm trying to get this darn watch party to go. How do I do this? Start a watch party. I think I'm like on the watch party, but it's like not flowing. So anyway, let me just get on this darn thing. Oh, here we go. I got it. Click on it, view it, share it, watch party. Boom. All right, now we got it. We'll be notified when people join your watch party. All right, so now I got people to comment and join my watch party. So, sorry, technical difficulties. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. School year starting back up. Super busy. So anyway, I tell my super attractive barber Hannah, I go, tell me some stories, right? What do you want me to share? And she goes, let me tell you about when me and my best friend had a joint, I think she said dating account, and I'm almost certain she said Tinder account. So she says we have a joint Tinder account. This was back when she was down in Georgia in the South. And I told her to watch. So Hannah, if you're seeing, right, you see that I'm telling you a story. And she said that they only accepted double dates, and they had the most fun that anybody's ever had. She's like, they were the most fun. She had her buddy to hang out with. It was low pressure. She was chilling, really, really cool. It was much, much easier to kind of like go with the flow of the date because she had a friend with her doing the double date. And she told me some like kind of fun stuff. She said that like there was at one point she said there were like a couple of SoundCloud rappers, and they were like, yo, listen to our SoundCloud. Like, what's up? You want to, what do you think of it? And she was like, your music straight up sucks. And like her and her friend were just kind of laughing on the back of the car, like, joking about their SoundCloud. And she said there was one time, I forgot the really funny story she told me. One time you know what it was? It was just one guy, and he brought them both to like some weird party and tried to like, get them both. And she was like, we're going to go. So she said she had some really fun times double dating. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to share that story, what is it about double dating that we enjoy? What are the pros? What are the cons? And I thought I would do a little bit of research on what the pros and the cons are, and also do some like surveying. So I did some surveying myself, and I asked a couple of friends, okay? Not too many friends, so this is not like an official, like the end size was really small, okay? But I asked a couple of friends what they thought about double dating, okay? And here's what we found out. We found out that of the folks that I asked about double dating, 76% of the folks that I asked about double dating, it was 75%, but somebody was unsure, so I added another percentage. Super official, right? 76% of the folks who are double dating said that double dating eases the pressure, and about 25 to 26%, or 24 to 25% said that it doesn't ease the pressure. Over 90% of the folks that I had asked had been on a double date before. They said that they had been on a double date or a group date as far as early on as high school or middle school. They said that as they got older, double dating is not one of the first dates that you have. It tends to be something that you do when you're in a mature relationship. Okay. Of the folks that I asked about pressure, some folks said that they enjoyed there being somebody else in the room, so that they didn't have to make conversation, right? And the folks that said that they felt pressured said that they felt like they had somebody, they were comparing themselves to another couple, comparing themselves to another person. So I thought that was kind of interesting, right? I also did a little bit of research, and I read some stuff on livescience.com as well as Elite Daily, and some of these end sizes were a lot bigger. Like over 120 people, 120 couples. They said 39% said it was somewhat important to be able to go on a double date. 40% said it was very important to be able to go on a double date. And they actually, this is funny, they referenced King of Queens. And funny enough, before I even read that kind of study, I was going to reference King of Queens. Tell me if you remember this. King of Queens did, I guess they did a bunch of double dates now that I'm looking at this study, right? But I remember one double date specifically. Tell me if you remember this episode. It was Kevin James and Leah Remini. I don't remember their names in the show. And they were going to a wedding. And they were going to a wedding with another couple, right? And it was for the two women were like best friends with the groom of the wedding. And I guess, I don't know if they knew the bride. And so Kevin James is getting ready for the wedding, and the couple comes over, and the girls go upstairs. I think, I want to say, to like fix their hair, do this makeup, whatever. And the guys are hanging out, and actually the male of the couple winds up helping Kevin James' character like sew up his pants because he like ripped his pants or whatever, and just a myriad of fat jokes in King of Queens, right? So he's like sewing and he's like, yeah, we're gonna have fun at this. He's like, yeah, I think we're gonna have fun too. And the dude's like, you're a good guy, man. I mean, knowing that Kerry slept with the groom and all, and Kevin James was like, wait, what? He's like, oh no, and he like, he told him that he had slept with that his wife Kerry, there we go, it's Kerry, had slept with the groom, the wedding groom, the best friend. Kevin James like didn't know that, and it turned into this whole big thing, and then find out that like the other woman had slept with him as well, so he slept with both of these women. And so it just kind of gets me thinking about like the things that we tell our spouses or our partners. When those things come out during a double date, it could be kind of treacherous. Or, I tend to think that we kind of show our best selves when we're on a double date, right? We're kind of like, we're kind of not showing off, or we are showing off, right? Like if you're not a door opener, you might be opening the door. You might be using sweet pet names that you normally wouldn't show, or you might be just more mild in general because you don't want to, kind of show off too much. So it goes on to talk about 120 different couples had been talked about. So many couples like to be able to find friendships with their double dates, as well as interesting, which I found really interesting. This was not that long ago. Sometimes couples will go on Craigslist and find couples to double date, which I think is absolutely wild. I thought something that would be super interesting, and I still think this, and if you steal it, I know who's in this show right now. I think we should have a group dating app where, kind of like Tinder, I would call it like Bonfire or something like that, where I'm with two of my buddies or three of my buddies, so there's three or four of us, right? And we're going to take a snapshot. We're going to take a selfie of the night that we're going out. So we're going out. We're feeling good, looking good. We got our whatever cool people wear, like skinny jeans or something. I don't wear those. And going to go to the bar, right? Now, we want to find four people. Now, assuming we're all hetero males, right? We want to find four women, right, to hang out with, right? We'll get along, whatever. And it kind of eases the pressure, right? If you're one-on-one, like, do they want to sleep with me? Do I want to sleep with them? Are we going to make out later? Like, no, there's three to four people. So it's like, we're all just going to hang out in a group. You know what I mean? And do I have to make conversation? No, well, if I'm not making conversation with you and you're making conversation with them, let's just flip flop, right? I mean, there becomes a question of like, well, I don't know if I like all the guys. I don't know if I like all the girls, whatever, right? But I thought we take a picture, you take a picture. We list some of our features and maybe our names or something like that. You list some of your like favorite qualities or whatever. And then we meet up at a bar. I thought that'd be a good idea, right? Takes a lot of the pressure off. You enjoy people's company, and you get to enjoy your friends, which I thought would be kind of a cool idea. So I want to go back to some of these statistics. So of 120 over 120 different couples on Life Science, they said that 40% said it's very important that you be able to go on a double date. 39% that it's somewhat important. So almost 80%, over 2/3 of the people that have been asked about double dating say it's super important, right? And of the statistics that I kind of ran, right, over 75% of the people that I asked said, yeah, it's pretty important that I ease the pressure on a double date. And I thought to myself, what is it about a double date that is so important? And I thought we'd kind of chat about that for a little bit. So the first thing I could think of right away, like we said, it kind of eases the pressure of conversation. Me personally, I disagree. I think it actually creates more pressure for me because I'm always the person in any scenario who is, trying to create more conversation, trying to figure out, how I can keep that kind of party flowing. So with 2 more people, I'm like, man, now I got 4 people that I have to figure out, right? But maybe some people who are not uber extroverts don't think like that. So it could very well be the case, right? We don't know. Some other folks said that, creates more pressure because they have to be a different version of themselves. I can kind of see that as well. But the one thing that I thought about is, and we'll talk about this throughout the conversation, is the double dating dynamic. How do you pick who your double date's going to be, right? So like double dating for me would really be important, not necessarily for the date itself, but if you're going to get along with me, my friends are like family, right? So you're going to have to figure out if you get along with my friends / my family. And, I have friends, some of the most obnoxious of my friends, you know who you are. Some of the most obnoxious of my friends are without a doubt the ones that I've known the longest and the most loyal. So right away, you're going to have to get along with my most obnoxious friends. Like I have friends since 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, right? So you're going to need to get along with those folks, right? Now, are they going to say something, offensive? I hope not. But are they going to be kind of stupid? Yeah, absolutely. And to know if you get along with them, that's super important on my double date, right? Really important to know if you're going to get along with my buddies, right? So just something to think about as we think about the double date dynamics. That's why it was really interesting that when I read about kind of the double dating, and I did some of my own statistics, that people did a lot more double dating earlier on in relationships when they were in like middle school and high school, which makes a ton of sense, right? You don't want to be alone with a guy or a girl. You don't know what's going to happen, right? Your parents probably feel a lot better if you're going on a double date as well, right? So that makes a little bit more sense that you're going on a double date earlier on, in the relationship as you're younger. Group dates, double dates, is it even a date if we're all going to get pizza and you're hanging out? I don't know, right? But I found it interesting as I asked a couple of folks, they say that they tend to wait for double dates as the relationship matures. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to think about, because I thought to myself, why is it that you're waiting for that double date to happen? Unlike, for example, my buddy and super attractive barber who brought her friend like immediately on a double date, like didn't date without a double date, right? When I was swiping, which I'm not at all, was taking a break in life, focused on a couple of other things. But when I was swiping, I did find 1 or 2 kind of double date profiles. And they said, we'd like you to find a friend or whatever. And I was like, I'll certainly, I don't have a lot of friends here in Vegas, and a lot of them are already dating somebody. I asked, I was like, hey, anybody want to go on a double date? And, it's hard for me to find somebody. See, if twice we're here, he would tell you that I didn't ask him, and I probably should have. So, but, I was literally on Tinder for like 3 days and Bumble for like a minute before I just deleted everything. But it's really interesting that these double date kind of things, people are trying to do it earlier on in the relationship, right? See, for me, I think, I'll see if I could squeeze us in the next 2 minutes before we take our break. For me, I need to know that you and I are clicking, right? Like, I need to know that I'm the person in your life and you're the person in my life, at least for the foreseeable future or long term, something, before I bring you on a double date and before I agree to a double date, for a number of reasons, right? I don't know that I want to meet your people unless I know that I'm one of your people, right? Because your people are going to judge the crap out of me, right? Like, I need to be secure that I'm one of your people so that, I know who I'm dealing with and what's going on. And maybe, if your friends are that important to you, like, I want to know how I can make them happy, right? How I can impress them. But also, I want to know what's going to tick them off, right? Like, if we do cute little pet names and they say that's immature, like, then I won't do that on the double date, right? So that's super important. But it's also important too that, like, if these are important people in your life, like, I want to know about them so that I can figure out what questions to ask them, how I can make sure that they're comfortable with me, that kind of stuff. Conversely, on the other side, if I'm bringing you on a double date, like I said, the friends that I have are friends that I've had for, literally 25, 26 years, right? These people are not, 27 years. They're not going anywhere, right? If you're new to my relationship, if you're new to my world, I need to know that we're in this together, because I'm going to bring you to a double date where, I mean, you may not like some of my friends right away, right? You need to like me enough so that when you leave that date, right, there's still hope, right? Or if somebody says something stupid, which my friends tend to do, or I tend to do, I need to know that we're in this before, I start moving into, what was this, was this a bust or whatever, right? Because we could have a bust date, we could have a bad date. If I know we're in this together, we're good to go. On that note, we're at a little bit over 20 minutes. I want to take a quick break so we can pay for our show. This show gets broadcast down in Florida, and we get some other folks that pay for our advertising. So if it's your first time on the show, you're going to see me literally just sit in silence for the next couple of seconds. It's just so we can weave in some advertising when this goes on air in Orlando, I think Orlando, and goes on our on iHeartRadio. So this is your host, and I thought I was going to apologize in the beginning of the show. I don't care. It's 120 degrees in Vegas. I wore a T-shirt, but I wore matching glasses, right? I wore a T-shirt, trying to shave, and I'm sorry. I do have a cold sore today. You probably didn't even notice it, but I'll bring your attention to it. You're watching WGSN-DB, Going Solo Radio. This is The Barber Shop. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Salute, and we are talking about double dating. Feel free to get some comments in. We have another 20 to 25 minutes of the show. I want to hear from you. Tell me some stories, and let's keep going. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with you in a second. And we're back. This is WGSN-DB, Going Solo Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Salute. You're watching The Barbershop. This is our show on double dating. And if you're just joining us, I'm going to tell you briefly how this came about. I have an amazing barber. She's super cool. We get to chatting all the time. She's like, oh, like, what do you do? Mary says, you're in Vegas. Yes, I'm in Vegas. I don't know who didn't know that, but now you know. Yes, I'm totally in Vegas. Moved from New York to Vegas in October, and had an absolute, just pivoted, wanted to make a change in my life. It's been a blast. It brought my business with me. It's been a really good time. Vegas is a lot of fun. The dating scene is a little different, and we'll talk about that in a second, because it's what did one of my friends say? He said Vegas has amnesia, I think is the way he said it, in that the town turns over so often that, I mean, it really is such a transient place, and people tend to visit for 3 or 4 days. It's like the people that you're dating may not be around tomorrow. So I guess to some people that's good. You can kind of make some mistakes, screw up a little bit. You could be a player if you want. You can do whatever. You can be promiscuous, whatever you want to be. And it's a little bit different. But if you're looking for a longer lasting thing, it is hard. A lot of the folks that I met when I was dating originally, were traveling professionals, or they were here for a couple of years and they were on their way out or whatever. So, kind of an interesting thing. But one great thing that I found in Vegas was an awesome barber. And my barber was like, you have to use some of my ideas and some of my stories on your show. And the one story that she told me was that she used to have a double dating profile. So hold on, I'm just typing to some of my folks. Feel free to ask questions. So she had a double dating profile, which means her and her girlfriend had 2 folks on the profile, and they said, you have to date both of us. The other thing she put on her profile was, she said literally, no vegans. And it wasn't that she didn't like vegans. She just wanted to kind of, just have a conversation about, whatever, and see what kind of witty comeback she would have. So I'm reading some studies as well. Just to recap, did a couple of my own studies, and I'm reading some studies from Elite Daily and Live Science. Now, Live Science, the conclusion on Live Science was actually that double dating actually tends to make people happier. Why does it tend to make people happier? They found that double dating makes you, and we know this, right? It gives you a more social environment, a more social atmosphere. We've talked about on this show before how, in general, humans are still tribal people, right? Like, there's still something to be said about getting together, unless you're, an uber introvert, and still, there's something to be said about being surrounded by your peers, being surrounded by people that you get along with, whether it be men, women, whatever, doing something that we can get some advice on, that sense of community. Community tends to actually create a sense of security. Why does it create a sense of security? Well, you know that somebody has your back, right? So if you know somebody has your back, then you know that you don't need to, you can fail a little bit and you're kind of okay. It's the reason that we get into relationships in general, right? Somebody to have your back so that if you screw up on something, you're still good, right? It's literally the reason that we do things, right? So the double date totally makes sense. So Live Science says that double dating actually makes us happy. So there's another study in 2014. Historian Stephanie Kuntz asserts that double dates are actually essential to happy relationships. She says, aside from having sex, which most of us prefer to do without outsiders around, thank you, if twice we're here, he would probably disagree. People enjoy doing activities with their partner and friends together more than with only their spouse. They conducted 2 studies. In the first study, participants were assigned to do an activity with either just their partner or a partner and other couples. They found that their happiness level increased. Okay? So just having casual conversation with another couple or doing the same bonding activity as a couple alone, they were happier with another couple. Okay? And in the second study, researchers commissioned even more couples to engage in the same bonding activities from the first study, but this time they studied how the couples interacted and paid special attention to how the bond of a couple was affected. And what they found was the bond of the original couple was actually impacted even stronger when you went on a double date, meaning that you had more to talk about and more to bond over after a double date, which totally makes sense. How many of us have gone on a double date, right? Or gone out, doesn't matter, to a family event, to a cocktail party, to a gathering, to a gala, and the minute you leave, you immediately start talking about what happened, right? Because you can't talk about it on the date, right? You talk about it afterwards. You start talking about what happened. You start talking about what you thought about it. You start talking about how it made you feel. You start talking about whatever, right? I tend to find too, if there was something funny that happened, if there was a laugh to be had, someone did something stupid, I'm definitely going to chat about that with my spouse or partner after it's over, because, it's something that we're going to joke about, right? Kind of the enemy is my friend, right? Not to say that we're enemies, right? But, it gives us something to bond over and something to chat about. Or it could be something stupid that we did. Like, babe, did you see what happened when I freaking tripped and blah, 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 blah. Or, maybe for me, like, I love dancing and sometimes I'm okay, to be able to show that skill off with my partner, we can talk about it after, we can have a laugh about it, talk about how good the food was, how bad the food was, that kind of stuff. But with a double date, we can also compare and contrast, right? Which can be good and sometimes bad, which is why a lot of the folks that I surveyed said that there was a lot of some of the folks said that there was a lot of pressure added to that double date. So tell me what you think about this. You're on a double date, right? I'm going to give you 2 scenarios, okay? In the first scenario, another couple, has a lot more, what you observe to be a lot more chemistry and connection than you might have, right? Maybe they are a little more romantic. Maybe you feel as though they're getting along better. Are you adjusting in that date? Are you overcompensating on that date? That's something that I always think about. See, for me, I hope that my partner understands that we have our unique, and trusting bond. And I like to think that other couples would look at me and my partner when I have one and be like, wow, like, he really treats her well. Like, maybe that's even something I can take from their relationship, is kind of move into that. So that's something that I always think about. So sound off. Tell me if it's something that you think about. The second thing that I think about is, what if you're on a double date and you truly observe something that really doesn't sit well with you, right? It could be abusive language. It could be degrading. It can be, speaking ill of something when they leave the table. How do you handle that on a double date? I've been fortunate enough where I haven't really had that situation, where I haven't seen somebody who was chauvinistic on a double date, or somebody who's degrading, or, on the female side too, you can be abusive as well. I haven't had to worry about that. I would like to think that in that situation, I'd be like, hey, like, that's not something that we do, we're either going to exit the state, or you're going to exit the state, or something like that. Just something to consider. So think about those types of things. Feel free to comment in a little bit. And the last thing that I kind of wanted to chat about, we only have about 15 minutes, is how the double date comes about. So we're going to first start with the why, right? We're going to start with the who, right? Because we kind of talked about who you're going to go on a double date with, right? And we'll talk about what that means in a second. The how, right? The where, and we kind of commented on the when, but we'll close with the when. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is the why. Why do we engage in double dates? And the statistics tell us from either Elite Daily and Live Science, as well as some of my own research. It's so funny. The header on Live Science says just like a big studying foursomes. So I'm like, all right, easy. Like, trying to be as PG-13 as possible on the show, but they're talking about, foursomes on a date. So with all this research, they say a couple of things, right? Here's the why. The why is that it's going to make you happier. You're going to engage in activities as a group, right? Number two, the why that I've engaged with, or that I've seen with some of my folks that I surveyed, is that it takes it takes more pressure off you. So it's less pressure on you to hold the conversation, to continue the flow of that date, that kind of thing. I'm going to say, though, that's probably, it could be generational, because the folks in my generation and below tend to be a little bit, we tend to not stick with our partners for as long, right? One of my favorite memes, you've heard me talk about it before, is when there's like a picture of a clock, and behind it's like an older couple, and it says, what does it say? We take things to get repaired. What does it say? Oh, we keep things longer because we'd rather repair them than replace them, right? And it was kind of like a metaphor for how we treat people and also how we treat things. And to be honest, how we treat people is very similar to how we treat things. Like us as humans tend to, I've got some great comments here. I haven't even been checking them. So us as humans tend to, kind of replace people a lot quicker than repair something. So Chris Scheffler says, I've gone on double dates before because at the time my girlfriend was super boring. I didn't have the balls to break it off just yet. Yikes. But it's so exciting if you vibe with their friends. Chris, man, this is broadcast on the internet. I hope that's okay with you. The guy can't be someone whose intentions you don't know. I think that's fair. The percentages would change based on whether they were introvert or extrovert, good with people, hate people. Yeah, I tend to see that as well. And then our friend Megan just waved a lot, which is wonderful. So, yeah, I can see that for sure. I can see, double dating as a means to, I don't want to say because your partner's boring. That's we wouldn't like that, right? But I guess to spice things up a little bit, right? So I've known couples, too, who, older couples, younger couples, something changes in their life, right? Kids leave the house. Maybe they got married. There's a lot of pressure when you get married. It's a lot different when it's legal or religious or both. You're bound to each other. So going on a double date does kind of ease that pressure, and you don't have to be alone with that person. So yeah, I can kind of see that. But yeah, I think the idea of just going out with another group of folks and enjoying their conversation, I think, is probably an okay idea. So that's the why, right? Now I want to talk about the who. And this is where I think we have different understandings of, is a double date enjoyable or not? Because I think that those who engage in double dating earlier on in the relationship, right, they're probably doing a who of like, maybe it's a new friend or an old friend, or they're just trying things out just to like kind of ease the burden of getting to know someone. Conversely, if you've had a group of friends for a long time, or you've been in a relationship for a long time, that who is going to be really different, because it's going to make a difference as to what the expectation of that double date is. Are you double dating just for the date, or are you double dating because you truly want to see how that person gets along with your people? And it could go either way, right? So I think that who is super important. I always like to think about the how, right? If we're double dating, are we meeting there? Am I picking my date up and you're picking your date up and we're meeting there? Are we all meeting at one place and going together? Are all four of us going to meet there at a different time? And again, I think that comes down to kind of like, where we are in the relationship, who we're going with, that kind of stuff. I personally, if I'm going to go on a double date with somebody that I know pretty well, I'll probably say, hey, let's all meet at my place. We'll go double date. And then, we can always come back for a board game and a drink or something like that. Just, get to know each other, go take a dip in the pool. So it's possible we can just do that. I think the other best option is probably just I pick my date up, you pick your date up, or, we'll meet at our place, you meet at your place, and then we'll kind of figure it out. So, there's a couple different ways that works. I rarely see a double date where all four people get there separately, right? Maybe a group date, right? Different people. And group dating, we probably don't even have time for it, but that's something to think about. So that's the why and the how. And the who. So let's talk about the where and the when. So I want to talk about the when first, because I think the when's pretty important, right? When in the relationship you're doing it. And we've talked about that throughout kind of our hour here. But, I think that the when really depends on, like I said, the intention of the date, right? Are you looking for a long-lasting vibe with this person? And if so, you probably don't want to double date too early, right? Am I looking to pass the time with this person? In which case, yeah, let's double date as early as we possibly can, right? That's definitely something to think about. I tend to want to really try to make a long-lasting relationship. So I would probably wait on that double date. I'd want to get to know my partner as intimately as possible, get to know who they are, figure out what the best way to vibe with them is, and then bring them into my world and bring my world into them. That's kind of what I would do. But as we remember, right, my super cool barber had that dating profile that was, two people, you're either dating us both or you're not. So there's always that other chance, right? And then lastly, we're going to jump into the where. Where do you go on a double date? That is something that I always think about, right? Because the first thing that everyone's going to say, dinner, right? Let's go to dinner. Okay, cool. I mean, I guess dinner's okay, right? But there's a lot more that we can do other than go to dinner, right? We can go bowling, which I think I did a double date with one of my best friends, and we went bowling. It was a blast. We all had a lot of fun. Sorry, I'm just liking some pictures, liking some comments. We all had a lot of fun. We joked, we laughed. We were high-fiving each other. The dudes were high-fiving, the girls were high-fiving, the couples were high-fiving. We switched it up. I think that's a great double date, right? Bowling. Movies are okay, I guess, if you're going to go out for a drink after or a coffee after, so that you can actually, kind of chat with each other a little bit about, what the movie said and what it was all about, right? That's kind of a cool double date. The other double date that I think about, other than dinner, is double date at somebody's house, right? I mean, what easier of a way? You already have the entertainment. There's four of you, right? Board game night, movie night, cooking a meal. I'm always curious. I've had a few long-term partners that I really felt like we vibed. I really just was so in love, or felt I was in love, and, really enjoyed their company. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed with people that I've dated is I love a cooking date, a good old cooking date where, we're hanging out, we're cooking together, and we're enjoying each other's company. Now, I'm not the best cook. I'm pretty okay, right? Coming from an Italian family, seeing, the way we treat each other, we love with food. That's how we love, right? And so, if I'm gonna cook for someone, even if I'm not the best cook, that's me showing you I love you. And here's my problem: is I'm pretty controlling in the kitchen, and I like things a certain way when I'm trying to cook a meal. So I tend to my date would be kind of like my sous chef. You know, I've done it the other way where I'm kind of the sous chef. Or the easiest thing to do is kind of splitting up the dishes, right? So I can handle something, you can handle something, and then we're both kind of in control of our own collective fate. And if my chicken sucks, at least your rice is good, or vice versa, right? I'm always curious when I see another couple cooking. So if we're going to double date and cook, I'm curious to see what their dynamic is in the kitchen, right? Are they kissing in the kitchen? Are they smacking each other's butts? Are they dancing to the music? Are they drinking while they cook? Like me personally, if I'm having a cooking date, I'm setting out some red wine and I'm putting out a charcuterie board so we can snack while we cook. By the time dinner's ready, I'm legitimately like, not even, you know what I mean? Like I'm not even hungry. I've eaten mozzarella cheese and pepperoni and dried sausage and some dried tomatoes and crackers and all sorts of good stuff, right? And probably had half a bottle of wine. So I'm always curious to see on a double date how people would do that. I don't think I've ever done a double cooking date. I mean, I visited friends, right? And my friends had wives and I was with my wife and we cooked together. Like maybe we were grilling and cooking, or all four of us were cooking, or we were kind of sitting around and they were cooking. So, it kind of depends on where, on where it's going with that. But I think that would be a super cool double date. So what did we do today? Let's recap. Let's make sure we've gotten all the comments and questions, and then we'll end the show. So we talked about double dating. We talked about the fact that most folks really do enjoy a double date, especially if you've been in a longer lasting relationship. And a lot of folks say it eases the pressure early on, but a lot of folks say that they really enjoy, just so that we see here, emotion sharing and fun sharing as well as finding friendships, which I think is super important. A couple of websites said to go on Craigslist. I do not recommend any part of going on Craigslist for your double dates. Relationships don't occur in isolation is what Elite Daily says. So, it does kind of bring that kind of to full circle, that as we are double dating, we are enjoying the other people in our lives together, which I think is super important, right? So we talked about why it makes us happy, right? We talked about the who, right? Who are we inviting to a double date? Don't bring like your stupid friend Mitch, who like offends everybody on your first double date. In fact, don't bring them on a double date like ever. Like wait until you're married to introduce them to your stupid friend Mitch, right? But you want to bring somebody that's close to you and is important, but is also gonna bring a good vibe to your double date, right? So bringing, for example, this whole time I've been thinking about like my best friend, right? If he and I were on a double date, we're just gonna have a blast. Like we're gonna be funny. Our dates are gonna think we're stupid, and it's also it's gonna let my folks know that like these are my people. These are my types of people. So like I'm hoping that you get along with those people because they're my people, right? So that's the why. Talked about the who. We'll talk about the how. Tend to either pick each other up or meet separately, right? As a couple. Showing up as four people sounds kind of ridiculous. In fact, I think in Goodfellas, he wanted to leave the date early, and Joe Pesci was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna look stupid." He didn't use a nice word, but I won't use that tonight. So we talked about the why, the how, and the who. The when, definitely, in my opinion, it should be when you've solidified your own relationship and you've solidified, just the intimacy in your with your partnership. And then the where. I mean, you can do a double date anywhere. I tend to think the double date at dinner is kind of like lame. Let's do something cool, right? Let's go bowling, check out a movie, play a board game, throw some darts, go to a bar, throw some axes, right? Something like that. Something cool where you can kind of be competitive or funny or cute. You can kind of show off your personalities a little bit. Because we go on double dates to engage in social activity, right? Not to sit there like stiffs and, I think this is escargot's delicious, whatever, So those are the five things that we talked about. And we kind of talked about the fact that double dating as it relates to our tribal selves, as it relates to our group selves, really tend to make us happier. That's our show. I'm your host. This is WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, Dr. Christopher Salute. This was Double Dating on the Barbershop. And again, I'm not even going to apologize for the fact that I'm wearing a t-shirt. It is 114 degrees in Las Vegas, so get over it. We'll see you we'll see you in 2 weeks. You'll see Think It Twice next week for his show. In 2 weeks, we're going to have a great guest. We're going to talk a little bit about, I'm not going to spoil it, but we will see you then. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for chatting. And thanks for being bold and being the barbershop. Bye, folks.